Good day, perceptive readers. Keep this in mind. The truth is in the parable. In this subject that I want to share with you today, it happens to be a story, you see, and it could almost be a part two, but let me tell you about part one. Years ago, I did a podcast or storytelling, if you will. I would call it one of my delicious storytelling moments. Just look at James Poeartistry online right now. You'll see why I'm saying that. And it was actually from ages ago, Aesop fable, if you will. I went into depth talking about Aesop's fables over the years, over the course of 2 or 3 podcasts, where people were able to gather the what? The truth was in the parable that was being told, the moral of the story, etc. And one of them I talked about, which became a favorite of many, was appreciating your golden eggs. So I'm not going to go back through as far as the points that we took away from it because, hey, it is still on YouTube. I believe I still have it on Rumble. And actually, I think it's on a lot of social media platforms that I didn't even post myself. I think other people posted and changed it and did all sorts of other stuff. But that's okay. That's not what I'm here to talk to you about. I'm going into a part two, if you will. Let me take a sip of coffee. Where this isn't an Aesop fable, but it is just one of my stories that I want to tell you, okay? And it has something to do with eggs. You know, human beings are very adaptable, okay? Yet, I want you to realize that even though human beings are adaptable, see, we deal in reality as well, that there are certain situations where unless you get a miracle from God, you will be, you see, finally or deceased from being on the earth. And if you are on the earth, you still won't be functioning in optimal conditions. And anybody that tells you differently, then guess what? I am going to say that there are certain aspects of our life, spirituality being one of them, that God really did reserve for himself. Now, we are able to share it with one another, yes, but all the same, we should not put God to the test to such a degree where literally he has to perform a miracle or he's going to lose one of his friends. That's presumptuous and we shouldn't do anything like that. But that's just what I'm just saying in the beginning. There was once a man, you see, and he was in the farmland, okay? There was a farmer um, up the street, well, when you live in farmland, you can actually have, at some points, a real huge distance between houses. We don't, as people say, today in many city areas, live on top of one another. No, there's plenty of elbow room. And people, they love their land, they love their space, they love their trees, they even love their crops if they're able to plant some of them, okay? Now, one man fell on some hard times. And as the weeks and months, and yes, started even going into years, started affecting the produce that he could make, you see, call it a form of economic drought. But guess what the economic drought was? Well, it was just some areas of food. And so still in adapting, the man just stopped eating certain foods that, he provided for and got for himself, not only himself, but very important family members and people in his lives. As always, like some people like to say, and I like to emphasize, no, it's not just about you or I, but I will tell you the immediate family plays into who you are as one. So, I said I wasn't going to get into the moral of the story, but I still have to emphasize that, sometimes when people have disagreements with this one person or that one person, they don't factor in that there are seriously individuals relying on that human being. And so to play around with them, their life and their livelihood, you're still affecting husbands, wives, grandmothers, children, etc. That's another story in itself that I won't go into. But anyway, what happened is the man continued to adapt, and even some of the super protein items that were going up in the markets because of the economy and supply and demand, etc., he just didn't get those items anymore. And he could certainly feel it and see it within himself and even within some of the ones who were under his care. But what he did was he continued to adapt. And something that he could always rely on practically, and see, he was taught this from a young age, that what? You can always have some eggs. Some people say you can always get some eggs and potatoes. Always can get those. And yet, see, what happened is all of a sudden, one egg that practically costs only 10 cents, you see, one egg, the price jumped up from 10 cents to $1. If you want to look at it that way. Now, that's a huge jump. Now, why did it jump? Was the supply and demand that bad or what have you? Well, what the man did was there was a major farmer up the street that was the one that was providing for the community, you see? So he went. Remember, I told you it was more than just a few houses down. This one was miles down the road. But what he wanted to do is find out why did the price of eggs jump up? Because that was his adaptation. By him adapting to just saying, okay, our diet is changing this way or that way. Well, all of a sudden, when he got there and asked, what's going on with the egg prices? Are your chickens dying? And the farmer was like, no, really, I still got more chickens than what I can do with, and they're still producing. Well, what is happening to the eggs? Well, the man ended up going in the house and coming back out, and it was some type of sheet of paper policy with all this writing on it, and it was long. It was. I mean, I don't know how many pages long, just to say that we want to. I'm putting it in my words. See, I'm just telling the story so I can tell like that. Well, we just want to confiscate and hold up for a while for another, type of area that we want to send this to. Yes, I know you were taking care of this area, but we want it for our stuff. And so we're willing to still, make it worth your while. But all the same, with the type of restrictions and regulations that was still placed, and for supply and demand, the costs that it would take for the trucks and gas and everything else, it made it so that it wasn't worth that farmer's time to still keep the prices at least for the local community, because now he was, through regulations, forced to deal with the big time community. And this is the way all the stocks and trade and other stuff that I won't say for the story, for the story's sake, that caused the prices to jump more than what? More than 10%? More than 50%? More than 100%? Well, isn't it what? 10 plus 10, that's 20. Yeah. So 1,000%, all because what? It wasn't because the supplies or the capability wasn't there for the farmer to keep the price and the eggs still at a reasonable cost. You see, it was because, again, some other reasons that this was actually now given to this farmer to do things in such a way. You see, now the man, looked at the situation, and so he actually wanted to know, who are these types of persons making these decisions. And in a nutshell, he did, in his mind, see and figure out that, boy, the vendetta of the people, the vendetta from one person to another person, can really affect even the world. Take care of yourself, perceptive readers, and I hope you will also look at appreciating your golden eggs. Remember, the truth is in the parable. Take care of yourself.